Hello, Internet. Thank you once again for joining me to talk all things vertical drama. And I am joined by an amazing, wonderful actress who is Celine Planata, who is going to tell us all about her life and her journey into verticals and how she has seen the industry has changed since she joined it. So I'm going to ask Celine to give a little intro of herself to you, the Internet.
First of all, thank you, Jen, so much for having me. You are such a great person who brings so many people together, and I love the platform you've created, and you uplift so many creatives. So thank you so much for everything that you do. My name is Celine Planata. I am originally from Luxembourg, and I have lived in LA for 4 years. I have now done 47 verticals. I know it's crazy.
47. Wow.
Yes, literally in all kinds of different roles, ranging from like day players to like major supporting. Like I've done a little bit of it all. And I don't know, I just love what I do. I love meeting so many new people, and I love seeing how this like emerging platform evolves.
So I have to ask, does anyone know that you're not from America? Because your accent is
I have to tell them, but I'm like one of those annoying people who brings it up like within the first 5 minutes of meeting people too.
excellent.
Like I'm always like, yeah, I'm actually Luxembourgish. And then I like go on about that and like, yeah, and derail everything.
And do people know where Luxembourg is, or do you have to do a bit of a geography lesson?
I usually tell them that it's like between France, Germany, and Belgium. It's such a small country that if I wasn't from there, I might not know where it is either. It's so tiny and little. And yeah, I feel like it's a little bit like Genovia from the Princess
Oh,
Diaries, where it's like it's like a tiny, tiny European country with like influences from the other places around it. Yeah, I love it. It's
can
such a
I
beautiful
ask,
place.
what's the native language there? So what do you?
We speak
Oh,
Luxembourgish.
so wow, okay, amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, and is that kind of what's that? Is that similar to like Flemish, or I guess what are the closest
It's
language roots?
It's most similar to German, and but it's its own language, and we learn to read and write in German and French and English as well, though. So most of the people in Luxembourg speak four languages.
Wow. Okay, that's phenomenal. That is phenomenal.
It's really
Um,
fun.
so when you were obviously very busy at school learning all the languages, were you also interested then in performing?
Ooh, yes, I always have been. I did a play in kindergarten, I remember. It was about pirates. And I remember making my first acting choice. I was playing a girl who got kidnapped by pirates, and as the story went on, I would play it more and more exhausted. And I remember that being my first ever acting choice, and I didn't even know it was a career until I found out about Disney Channel, and then I was like, "Oh, wait, there are kids who do this for a living, and that's their job, and they don't have other jobs." So then ever since that point, I really like went for it. And I started with school plays, and then I did like musical theater, contemporary stuff, and like community theater. And then I started doing like film projects and doing semi-professional theater in Luxembourg. And then I got into a drama school out here and did that. And yeah, and then now I'm just like living the life.
See, I'm going to ask you now, and you might not want to answer this because it might date you, but what,
Go
what,
for
what
it.
Disney era were you? What were your shows on the Disney?
Hannah Montana, she was my idol. I had a life-size poster of her on my door, actually.
Oh, and have you stayed with Miley through the career since then?
Yes, I do. I still listen to all her albums. I love Miley.
Okay, so drama school, LA.
Yes,
How is that? Because that's a massive journey to make, leaving home,
absolutely.
like leaving, family, friends, culture as well, to go all the way to LA. How is that? How do you find that? How does your family find it?
I mean, it's obviously an adjustment because it's hard not to be able to do, like, be there for everyone's birthday and do all the little things that people do with their families on a regular
Mm.
basis. But it was always a huge dream of mine, so I think that we all saw it coming. I thought growing up that I would be going to London actually to study
Mm.
acting. But I wrote in this like manifestation book that I had when I was growing up. It made you like list like 10 goals. There were these different prompts, and I wrote in there that I wanted to both have an apartment in New York City and in Los Angeles as like long-term goals. And then a few months later, my acting teacher from Luxembourg told me that the American Musical and Dramatic Academy was touring through Luxembourg to audition people for the school. And I ended up auditioning. I used the same monologues that I was using for my UK drama
Yeah.
school auditions, and I ended up getting a scholarship. And I saw it as a huge sign that it was time to move to New York and like live my dreams and go to the cities that I always dreamt of living in. So it was such a blessing.
That does feel like it's meant to be, wasn't it? They
Yeah.
happen to be touring through and taking auditions.
Yeah, it was
Um,
so crazy.
so my next question is, do you remember what your first paid acting job was?
Ooh, yes, it was a commercial. I was 11 years old. It was for an election in Luxembourg. It was to tell people to go vote. Even though everyone votes in Luxembourg because it's mandatory by law. So
Yeah.
that's not like a but yeah, and I was a little girl at a flower stand. So I was like picking up flowers. I had like a straw hat on and I was smelling the flowers and putting them back down. I remember that was my first paid acting job, and I was like, I'm gonna be in a commercial on national TV. I thought it
Big
was so
deal.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
National TV in Luxembourg is like one station, and it was like a huge deal to me. I loved
and
it.
presumably your mum's got that recorded somewhere.
For sure. My dad too. Yeah, it's archived, backed up. Yeah.
Excellent. I love that. We
So
need that
fun.
for like eventually the talk show. And then when you're on
Yes.
Graham Norton, it's like,
We'll
and
have a clip.
here's oh look.
Yes. We'll
And
have a
then everyone
clip.
go, oh. So, yeah.
Oh.
So that's amazing that you got something that young. So when you've graduated in New York, what was the acting jobs that are available? What were you finding was there available to audition for?
I graduated during COVID, so it was a really hard time, and Broadway was shut down and everything. So I went back after graduation back to Luxembourg for the summer. And then I decided to finish my BFA in LA. So I ended up like just not staying in New York for too long because the pandemic really shut everything down
Hmm.
at the time. I know that they were doing like some plays, but they had like lots of regulations put on them. And it wasn't like the right time for it. It wasn't the right time for live theater. But I eventually got out to LA, and in the summers, I went back to Luxembourg to do some theater. So that was always really nice. I would try to keep up with as much theater as possible when I wasn't in school. And then when I started auditioning, it was during the strike. So I was doing lots of non-union things and lots of indie projects and stuff like that. And then eventually the vertical started popping up on my Actors Access, and then I gave that a shot.
So what was your first vertical? And do you remember your impressions from the set?
Yes. Yes. At first, I was not submitting to them because I was so scared. I was like, what's happening? And I was reading the descriptions and I was so confused and I hadn't heard of it. And I thought it was like a web series. And I thought they were called mobisodes because they were about the mob.
That
But
makes sense. Yeah.
because they were all about mafia things. So I was like, they're mobisodes because they're episodes about mobs. And I wasn't really sure what was going on. But I did a short film for film school here in LA. And I was speaking to the woman who was playing my mother. And I had seen on her IMDb that she had done a bunch of the mobisodes. And I asked her about her experience. And she said, oh, it's like really quick, really professional. It's great, like training so that you can like be super comfortable in front of a camera and like put everything out there. And I was like, okay, cool. So then I started submitting. I got my first one without auditioning, and it was for I think it was called Sexy CEO or something like that, or Faded to My Cruel CEO, and it starred Autumn Noel and Casey Esser. And those are like the OGs, so it was like so fun getting to know them on set. It was such a crazy day. And I was there and I was having the best time. I was like, this is so fun. I immediately was playing a mean girl. And I don't know, I just like had such a great day and I had such a good impression of it. And I left wanting to do more. I was like, this was so like energizing. I'm ready to keep doing this.
So yeah, that absolutely. You've played loads and loads of different roles, but you do a
Yes.
good mean girl, shall we say?
Thank you.
Um, how? What do you think are some of the most dastardly things you've done in your
The most what?
the bad? What's the baddest things you've done? The most dastardly as
Oh
a
my
mean girl?
goodness. Ugh, I do things that I would never ever do in real life. The worst thing I did was I held up a letter opener to Jess Jacoby's pregnant belly and tried to cut it out, which is so traumatizing. Poor Jess. And she's the sweetest, most beautiful girl ever. And I just did the most awful, awful things to her. And I just have to like look at her gorgeous angelic face and do these awful things and say these like evil, evil, evil things. And yeah, and I think trying to like slit her stomach open was the worst thing that I've done in a vertical.
Okay, it's quite high on the rap sheet. How
But the
they
worst thing
really
I've done
vary,
that's
don't
like,
they? Because they can be that
mm-hmm,
level, and sometimes it's just words, and sometimes you're more just in a bit of a posse who you're just kind of backing up someone
100%.
else who's doing more.
Exactly. I'm just like, yeah, like what she said. Yeah, exactly.
What do you I guess for you, how do you try to differentiate roles? Kind of particularly, how do you
I
work that out in your head?
I try to like add little flavors to different characters. I think it's all based on where their mean-spiritedness is coming from.
Mm.
And I feel like that helps me to lean into different aspects of like the mean girl category. Because sometimes it's really from jealousy, and then sometimes it's from hurt, and then sometimes it's from a place of competition. So I try to like lean into what my character really wants and needs, and that helps me build it together. But sometimes I'm also like scrolling on TikTok and I come across like personalities and I'm like, oh, that would be really fun to try to build into a character. But yeah, there's also like I play a lot of comedic parts too. And for those I just like lean into my improv background and I just try to like have the most amount of fun ever. And a lot of directors are really great, like Long Way, and they let me like riff off of scenes a little bit. So, I just like have the most fun when I'm playing comedic roles.
Because I've just realised we don't get the shop assistants anymore.
I know.
What
It's
happened to the
true.
shop? I love the shop assistants. So
Mhm,
in older verticals, there was you go into the heroine goes into the store.
mhm.
Normally she's been given a black card by Mr. Billionaire CEO, but she's a bit dowdy. And the shop assistant's like, I
100%.
don't think you belong here, and throws out. You have
Exactly.
played some awesome ones, and it's always really good comedy and kind
Thank
of
you.
where it goes, and then sometimes obviously the billionaire turns
So
up and
fun.
goes. We don't get those scenes anymore. I miss them.
I don't know. I think they were oversaturated, maybe. I think they became like such so tied to the genre that maybe now people are like shying away from them. But yeah, we should bring it back. I should write a whole one about a shop assistant and her journey to terrorizing young billionaires' wives. Yeah, I think that would be fantastic.
I just think and I just think they had a bit more comedy potential, didn't they? There was a bit more
Hmm.
I could see that you could play with there. Um,
Yeah.
what are the clothes like in those scenes? Because obviously
Oh, it's fun.
you're trying to go like this is Amani, this is very high end.
Exactly. I love it because it's all from Amazon. So we're really like we're building the value of the clothes with our words. Just based on how we describe them and the value that we assess to them. But yeah, most of the things are either thrifted, which is so great and perfect for the environment, or they're from Amazon. And then sometimes they get returned and sometimes they're kept. And then or they're from like now they have like big inventories full of clothes, which is where you get the fun things where you see one dress and you can like put it on like four other vertical actresses in other categories. And it's just like from the clothes inventory. And that's always really fun to like spot all the different places where something was used. But yeah, the clothes in the store scenes are always like just random assortments of things. And then you're like, okay, try this on. I don't know if you're going to be able to like fit into this, but you should try it on, like type of a vibe. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you said the improv helps you. How does that work? Within each
Mhm.
role, how much room are you given to try and interpret and bring a bit of your own spin to it?
There was one role that I was doing where I was playing a maid, and I didn't audition for that one. I just was asked to do it, and she didn't have many lines. But I was having so much fun with my scene. I was just like doing like strange facial expressions and like it was making the crew laugh. So Longway ended up building that character into other scenes that she wasn't initially in. So I was asked to come back another day and I was asked to stay longer and we were adding her into like other aspects of scenes. And I was just asked to I was given a scenario of what's happening and then I was asked to just like build my own dialogue around it and it was really fun. I do improv here in LA. I'm in a group called Rat Milk with alumni from AMDA, and we perform like every month and we have themed shows. So I do improv twice a week on a regular basis, and I just use that fun of building characters and going with whatever's happening and being spontaneous and making bold decisions. And I always try to bring that into all my characters for verticals. It translates so well. Theater and verticals, like they mesh so well when it comes to the acting style and the scope of it all. So I always pull as much as I can from that.
And I know the one you mean with Maid,
Yes.
because I loved that one and you were my favourite thing in it.
Yes.
I always find that actually often bits that I laugh as a reviewer that I've enjoyed most are often when you've all been allowed to improvise.
Thanks. Yeah, we have fun. And I feel like when you're playing a character, you really get to know it so well. So you have all these ideas of where you think the character could go. And it's always really fun when you get to have like a little bit of say into where the scene goes. And when you get to like add your own little spin on things, it always helps it be fun and creative.
So I just want to ask you now about Queen Bee. Hot title.
Yes.
So I found that one fascinating. So I think it came out early this year, didn't it? I think it was about
It was a
February,
December
December.
release.
Because
Yeah.
I remember watching it when it came out, because I think it was just before I was writing reviews, so it kind of just missed. And it
That
is
makes
one
sense.
of the best. The kind of the high school, I'm the heiress, but everyone doubts she's the heiress, which obviously has been done to death since then. But this was the original one and is done really, really well. And the plot
Oh, gee.
builds and it's very clever. Um,
Thanks.
so obviously it came out and did well. Now this is really
Mhm.
unusual for Vertical. So it did well, and then other stuff comes along. And then it went crazy again.
It did.
Had
It
you
was so
seen anything like
crazy.
that happen before? Because it's amazing.
It was the first time it happened to me. It did well. We were number one for a little bit when it came out on Real Short. And then I think they chose that one for the ads. And I think those ads were being pushed to people all over the world because I was getting messages on Instagram from people who I haven't seen since high school. And they were saying that I was showing up on their phones and on their Instagram ads and on their TikTok ads. And I think that push from the ads
Mm.
really brought a lot of people to the series. And I think a lot of people, that was their first vertical that they ever watched. I saw a lot of like social media personalities posting that they were paying for it and they were like they were like the TikTok ads pulled me into this TikTok movie, and it seems like it was like the first one that a lot of people saw online. And then it got a huge fan base in the Philippines, and it was number one on trending for the Philippines on X. So it just had like a huge platform, and then started publications started writing about it, and we started being asked questions. So then it had like this whole like second wave of views, and it ended up like going crazy. And I think we all still get messages about it, and we all still get edits about it, and it just like really took off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that one and Quarterback Next Door and The Virgin Bucket List. They were all filming at the exact same time. Virgin Bucket List and Queen Bee were filming in the same high school.
Oh, wow.
And Quarterback Next Door, my roommate was playing a character in it. So he was like at a different high school and they were all filming at the same time. And it was the first like chunk of high school verticals that I knew about. Because
Yeah.
before that, all the ones that I did were taking place in an office. I was in all the like CEO, billionaire
Mm.
office drama ones. And then this was like the first wave where it was like young adult, like teenage vibes that I was aware of. So it was really cool and exciting. And I was just like having such a great time. Obviously, I didn't have an American high school experience. So it was really cool to like jump into that and have a spring fling and play dodgeball and do all those like typical American things. I really had a good time.
What was your favourite costume in that you got to wear?
Ooh, that's such a good question. What was I had this great purple dress. It was for Candace's mansion party that she had, and I have like this velvet purple dress, and it makes me feel like Rapunzel. It's really princessy and
Oh,
adorable. And yeah, I just became obsessed with that dress. I ended up buying it from production because I loved it so much.
I love
Yeah,
that.
so I have it in my closet actually. I love that dress.
Oh. And so I have to ask with that, presumably that's the one most people contact you about. What are kind of the
Mhm.
messages that people say? What do they tell you that they love about it?
There was one man, he was talking to me as though the vertical had actually happened. So he was asking me how I felt about my friend having lied to me for the whole school year about being the real Kaplan heiress and how I felt about the betrayal. So I would just like to tell him that it took some time, but I've gotten over it. And it took some time, but
Yeah.
all is forgiven. And yeah, and then we get like lots of nice messages from like like younger girls, like teenagers. It really resonates with like preteens and stuff. And I don't know, they just say that they love the show and they love the vibes. I've also seen like some YouTubers reacting to that series in particular, and they always find it really shocking and fun that I pull a knife out on Maya on the first day of school. Yeah, so that's always really fun to see people be completely shocked by that scene and just the absurdity of it. And yeah, it always makes me giggle.
That's so cool that you've got reaction videos. I mean, you know you've made it if you've got YouTubers making reaction videos. That's
Yes,
phenomenal.
it's true.
Um,
Yeah.
and then obviously the final part of that, so obviously it came out, it did really well. Then obviously someone at Real Short went, right, this is one we're gonna put a good decision, whoever made that decision, because obviously it did really well. Then Real
Yes.
Short got Billboards.
Yes. So crazy. I was in an improv
You're on a
rehearsal and I got
You've been on a billboard in Hollywood.
yes.
That's
It's
phenomenal.
so crazy. And I got a message on my phone and it was a picture of the billboard and an actress who I worked with said that her friend lives in that area and took a picture of it. And I was like, that's so crazy. I was like, what are the odds? Because this just started out like I didn't know where this was going when I started it, and it's so like crazy and surreal to see the reach that it's had, and how many millions of people it's reaching, and that now it's like that the billboard feels really special because it's such a tangible thing.
Yeah.
Like you can see it right in front of you, and it's not just like random numbers like on a page. Like it's like there and it's real and you can touch it. And I don't know, so it was like such a crazy, surreal experience. And I was like, that's so fun, especially for Queen Bee. And I love that poster because it's like so pink and it has lockers and everything. So that's like very cute poster.
But it's just, I guess it's that thing, isn't it? Of it's merging verticals as rather being this niche thing, which we knew it's not really that niche
Mhm.
because there's millions of people watching these.
It's
But
true.
to like more mainstream Hollywood, because that would be if you were
Yeah.
in a big TV show or if you're in a big movie, there would be billboards. So I love that verticals are now doing that as well. And it's another medium.
Yes.
And so did you? I think you went, didn't you? You must have gone and stood by it.
I did. I did. I had to go see it. It was really fun. I went with my best friends and they helped me out. They took some pictures of me and some videos and it was a really like crazy experience. Yeah. Um and I know that my other friends also went and saw the billboard and took pictures with it. So it's just like so cool. Like I don't know. I could have never predicted that, especially when we were filming it. I had no idea that it was going to be such a huge thing.
Oh, that's so awesome. So talking about the other roles, another one that obviously one of my favourite festivals that you win, because I'm a real rom-com person,
Yes.
is Cohabiting Lover.
I love it.
Please tell me more about just the whole
I love
experience
it.
and tell me all
Oh
about it.
my goodness. So when I auditioned for the character, she was a little bit different. She was a little bit less like typical vertical villainess. She was just more like a tragic figure. And so my audition was like me like sobbing. It was like a breakup scene between Betty and Andy and she was like sobbing, sobbing, sobbing. And I then got to read Tiffany and Kaylin's amazing script when I got cast in
Yeah.
it. And I was reading it and I was like, this is so cute. This is such a good story. Like, it's so fun and so like, I don't know, like just heartwarming and cutesy and them like fighting over chores in the apartment is like so relatable and so adorable. And I was obsessed with it right away. And I came to set the first day and I was like, I'm obsessed with your script. Like this is so cute. This is like where I want to see things going, like in that area where it's like really just like romances and it still has the quickness of the vertical format and it has like the fun tropes and the campiness, but it's like just like a really cute story and you really root for the couple in this one. And I don't know, I loved it. And I loved that Betty comes from like such a place of heartbreak. I was like, she's not just being mean to Corinne for the sake of being mean. I felt like she came from a place of like deep disappointment because she was looking forward to this wedding since she was a little girl. She was like told that she was going to marry this man and she was expecting it and looking forward to it and she didn't like deviate from that at all her whole life. And then when that comes like crashing and burning down, like of course she's going to be really heartbroken from it. So I really understood where she was coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I had a bit of justice for Betty, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like it's not said often enough, but sometimes some of these villain characters and verticals, it's like they've
Uh-huh.
got a point. Betty's got a point.
I
Everyone's been saying
know.
you're going to marry him and it's all going to be this. She's quite entitled to be,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I still think Betty needs a spin-off story where she gets her happy
A
ever after.
spin-off story for Betty where she finds love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a redemption arc
I
as
would
well.
love
Betty
that.
kind of,
The redemption
I
arc.
think like,
Yeah,
a bit like Sharpay's Big Adventure.
exactly. We
Grows
need
as a
that.
person and then finds love. That's what we want.
Yes. I would love that. Yeah, she's not a horrible person, she's just misunderstood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just misunderstood.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
with all the different sets you work on and locations, kind of what are some of your favourite locations? Because you must have been to some wild houses and offices.
Oh my
No, you do.
goodness, yes. There's this beautiful house in Bel Air that I shot out last month. I'm My next vertical that's coming out is called Taming My Bullies, and it's going to be on Real Short. It's with Meg Bush. And we were filming at this beautiful, beautiful house. I think Suki Waterhouse filmed her music video there, someone was saying. And you see like a whole golf course and they have this beautiful pool, but it's like uneven, it's like rocky, and it's so gorgeous. I also love filming at the high school that we often film at. We also film at this high school called Torrance High School, and it's where they filmed Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and she's all that.
Mm.
And it's just such an iconic high school set. So it always feels like, I don't know, it always feels like we're part of this like bigger thing when we're at that high school too. That always makes me really excited.
Oh,
Yeah.
so how does it work? Do they actually do any high school there, or is it just used as a set now?
They do, I guess. I know that we like work around, we do a lot of weekend shoots for
Oh,
high school verticals. We also they'll close down certain sections of the school. And then during the summer and during like school holidays, we do lots of shooting at different high schools. So they really like make the most of when there's free
yeah.
time, to put as much in there as they can. So yeah, they do a good job at working around. But I think every high school that I've shot at has been a functioning high school where there's actually people there, or middle school, whichever.
That's
But yeah, I
amazing.
think, yeah, they're all
Also
real
quite good.
schools.
You can't do summer school because we're filming. So
It's true. There you go.
you're right
Exactly. Let the
now.
kids play.
Um, and then when you're on a set and could you kind of give people an idea of just how much you're in front of the camera and then kind of what you're doing when you're not on camera and kind of how that time's spent? Because particularly someone who's possibly not always the lead, just how does that
Mhm.
actually work? It's like, do you leave? Do you just sit and drink coffee? Are you working? Kind of how does it work? Yeah.
So I spend a lot of time getting to know people on set because there's so many great people who have like crazy stories and who have been in the industry for either a long time or who are fresh, and it's like cool to like
Mm.
hear about their perspective and how are going and what their dreams are. So I do talk to a lot of people on sets. But then I also try to bring books. I try to like look at what auditions I have to do later that day or the next day. So I try to like read ahead for my sides for those. If I have like scenes to prepare, then I'll try to take that time to do that. I record all my lines on my phone. So then I put myself in a corner sometimes and I start playing and I just start going back and forth with my lines for that. Because once the scene comes up, like you got to get it quick and you got to get it
Mm.
right away. So there's not really much room for mistakes. So I try to really be on top of like everything to a T. So if I do have a scene coming up, then I'm definitely going to be taking some of that time to run it on my own, so that I can be the most prepared and have the freedom to think about like what choices I want to make in the scene when I'm doing it instead of worrying about what I'm going to say. But yeah, but talking to people is definitely how I spend most of my time. And then now I'm trying to also make TikToks when I'm on set and I'm not needed, so that I have like more memories from set and yeah, and things to look back on when the show is wrapped, which always happens so fast.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So I like to ask this as well. Who are the unsung heroes on set? Who deserves a bit more shout out?
Oh my goodness. The makeup artists and costume people are so fantastic. They're like also always the people who you can talk to about anything if something's happening on set. Also, I feel like definitely people who fill in for roles last minute are unsung heroes. There's so much like scheduling that goes into verticals, and there's so many moving pieces, and there are times where people have to drop out last minute, and there's other people who come in and fill in, like, and they sometimes get the script the night before. And I feel like that the people who do that and who do it well, like those are also unsung heroes because they're like putting in extra work to get the script down on such short notice, and they do such a great job. Yeah.
Ah. So now that you've been doing verticals for some time, and obviously we've talked about it's getting much more attention. Are you finding people are asking you more about it now when you're like, oh hey, I've been in verticals, and kind of what are the sort of things people want to know when they find out?
Absolutely. I have a lot of friends who used to not do them and now they're starting to submit. So I'm like giving advice to a lot of my friends now because they're really taking off and they're getting so much more mainstream attention. So I feel like what people ask me is a lot about the acting style because it is known for like that more dramatic feel.
Mm.
And I feel like what I tell people is that yes, you have to be big and bold, but you also, that has to be motivated and that still has to be like grounded to who you are. Because I feel like some people when they start, and maybe I did that too when I was first auditioning for them, where you like go a little bit too phony because you're like, oh, it's supposed to be dramatic. I should just like do it too much. But I think that when you can really find the balance between having like a grounded performance and having something that is high stakes drama, that's when you get like a really good character out of it. Because if you just like go off the rails and you play something unseriously,
Mm.
then I feel like it just comes across as like really like unwatchable in my opinion. So that's what I tell my friends. I'm like, yes, be dramatic, make the big choices, be theatrical, but make sure that it's like coming from your heart, not just coming from like, I don't know, outer space or the clouds or whatever. It has to come from here.
That seems to be the key, that you kind of understand that, but you also ground it as well and believe what you're doing. Um,
Yes.
I wanted to ask you as well about stunts.
Yes, I love
What
stunts.
sort of stunts have you got to do, and what are some of your favourite memories of doing those? Because actually, there's some pretty good stunts in verticals, aren't there?
It's super fun. Yeah, I love it. I did one scene where I try to stab Autumn. And Lorenzo was our fight director for that, and that was really cool. And I was just like maneuvering the knife and figuring out like how to play with that, and scare her, and then how to go in for the stab. And this was another one with Casey and Autumn together. So Casey comes in and grabs the knife with his bare hand, and we're like maneuvering around it, and he starts like bleeding everywhere. So that was a really fun stunt. I did a horror. I don't think this is a stunt, but I did something kind of gross where I consider it a stunt because it took that mental space for me to do it. But I had to grab like a thing of cat food and try to shove it in Autumn's face too in the same vertical, and that was just like mental like strength because it was like it smelled really really bad and it was
Oh,
getting under my fingernails, so it wasn't really a full stunt, but it was, yeah, definitely a lot of
yeah.
concentration went behind that.
And how have you
Yeah.
been near swimming pools?
Ooh, I did one night swim scene, but it was for like a date type of a vibe. I did something called the Fame Game, which was the counterpart to Hollywood Heartthrob.
Yeah.
So we were filming a vertical and the video game both at the same time. And in the video game version, I'm one of the love interest options. And we do this romantic scene where we go on a date and they have like a night swim shoot. So I did have that, and I've heard horror stories from my friends about pools being cold and all of that stuff. So I talked to production the week before and I made sure that they heated it, and it turned out great. Like the pool was the perfect temperature and it was really relaxing. And after like a long hot day, it was actually like exactly what I needed. So that scene went super well and it went really fast, and it was a great experience, honestly. I haven't pushed anyone into a pool yet,
You've not
but
pushed
we'll see.
anyone. Wow.
No, I know. I'm
Casting
I'm
call.
I'm so nice. I could be so much worse in these. I'm sparing people.
So, having done them for what sort of stories are you seeing coming through now, and kind of where do you think? I guess, yeah, I want you to get your crystal ball and tell me where you think things are going.
Yes. I hope like more things like what Adam Santa Cruz is doing, like stories like with a lot of heart. Like I like that he does things with ensemble casts. And I don't know, I love that element of it and subverting expectations. I love that. I love seeing what the actors write as well for their scripts,
Mm.
because I feel like there's a different perspective that comes with it. And yeah, I hope there's more things like the rom-coms like Cohabitating Lover and stuff like that, because I just like to smile and I like things that are heartwarming and cutesy. So I hope that we keep going in that direction, and a little bit like less shock value and a little bit more love and friendship and beauty and stuff like that. I also love the ones that are like about a passion project, like ones that are like about ice skating or about like, I don't know, different categories of jobs that you can have. Like I love to see that, and like I love to see the person's like journey of like climbing through the ranks. So hopefully more stories like that, more positive things, things that make people happy and smile and leave like better than when they started it.
So, I've got to ask, because obviously you mentioned sports, are there any hidden talents that you're like, I could do this in a vertical?
Ooh, I'd like to do one where I sing. I used to do opera. I used to have a singing teacher. So I would like to sing in one. It would be great to do like a travel one where I'm like lost in Paris and I speak French. Like that would be fun.
Oh, yes.
Um, yes. What else? What are my hidden talents? I'm getting back into dance, but I don't know if that's like fully like for me yet. But yeah, definitely something with singing, something with like the languages that I speak. I would love to do something like that.
I'd love that. I think you could do something very cool, because I've had several French people say to me
Yeah,
that they think they need to do verticals and they don't know, stick the Eiffel Tower in, they're onto a winner.
exactly.
But it'd be really nice to have
Yes.
the bilingual thing, because I've seen sort of TV shows where they do it quite nicely. And, for the French
Yes,
viewers,
like
they would
Emily
hear
in
you in French and the
Paris.
English would hear you in English, and that could be really awesome.
I love that. Yeah, we need to make it happen.
Yeah. Um, so you mentioned Adam Santa Cruz, and obviously someone who is acting but also writing and producing a bit as well. Is that something that you've looked at with kind of partly with the improv? Would you be interested in writing or sort of doing other bits in the industry as well?
I would. I started writing one project that I never finished, but this might be like what I need to push me to finish that script, like hold me accountable, harass me in my DMs to finish my script. I was writing one about a debutante ball, and I was inspired by True Heirs versus Fake Queen Bee to have that like a bit of a rivalry between like girls, but maybe like they could have like a redemption arc or something at the end. And yeah, so I started that. This is like good to hold me accountable to finish that script and try to get it produced. Because writing is so fun, and especially with verticals, like you understand the tropes, you understand the format, and you understand like what sort of scenes like go far with these and read well. So I feel like just putting an assortment of that together like is the formula for a fantastic script. So I do think I will get more into that and use my creativity in a different angle, because yeah, I do love writing and it just seems like a good recipe.
Oh, that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Um, so just for you, as someone who
Yes.
obviously loves acting, has been immersed in this pretty much, I'd say, all your life. Um, what do you love to watch? So, what are your favourite things to watch? Who are the
Oh.
actresses and actors that inspire you?
My favorite actress is Florence Pugh. I'm so obsessed with her. Like I love seeing the little things that she does. She has like these subtleties and quiet moments for her characters where she has like little quirks and it just makes the character feel so real. So when I'm filming things, I also try to just like relax into it sometimes and just see what happens and not prepare little tiny moments and see what inspires me when I'm doing it. And then I love, as a comfort show, I love to watch Gilmore Girls. That's always been my favorite. I've rewatched it so many
Yeah.
times. It just like comforts me to see like a small town where the characters are like quirky and eccentric in their own ways. And I like that they speak quickly, like it feels like theater as well. So I love Gilmore Girls so much. But yeah, but I try to keep up with like what's happening currently, and go to the movies as often as I can. And yeah, I love like happy movies and TV shows. And then I also love dramas that like make you think of things in a different way.
Okay, I have to go back to Gilmore Girls. Jesse or Dean?
I like Jess and I like Logan. I don't love Dean.
Okay,
I I don't trust Dean. He uh, he's untrustworthy in my opinion. So anti-Dean here.
that's
Mm-mm.
fair enough. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, who are your kind of favourite supporting characters in that? Because that's one of the things I think that Gilmore Girls does so well, that everyone like Miss Patty gets built up into amazing characters.
Yes.
So who are your favourite supporting ones? Who are the ones that you love?
I love Paris. I feel like if they were casting that, I would easily play a Paris. Love her. Um, I do love Miss Patty and Babette. Oh my goodness, Babette is so funny. Every time she comes on screen, I'm just like laughing. I'm obsessed. Yeah, that's the perfect show for supporting cast. And I don't know, they always steal the show and they always have so many like funny moments and such big personalities. It's always so fun.
Because that's what I would love to happen in verticals. I think some of my favourite when it's built out beyond just the central characters and it's all the people around it. And I have a plan. I want like a universe then, and like you then supporting people and what happens to them. So that's my hope.
Yeah.
Are there any other projects coming up that we should look out for as well? And it doesn't just have to be vertical, other projects as well that you've got going on.
Yes. I did two short films recently. I was in one about it's a sci-fi movie about an experimental drug and how like that interprets into the afterlife, like how what happens after you die, what happens when you're asleep type of a thing. So there's two separate realms and you don't know which one's real until the end. So I really liked that one. I was playing like a girlfriend in that one and then also the nurse. So depending on the universe, I'm like two different people. And then I also did a horror short that is going to come out soon. It's called Rat Face. It's like kind of like a an 80s comedy thriller inspired slasher film. And that's going to be really fun too. And yeah, and there's like a masked killer and you have to try to figure out who it is. And yeah, so I'm excited about that.
Oh, that's awesome. I just want to say thank you so much for chatting with me because it was so fun just
Thank you
getting
so
to know you a bit
much.
more and just your experiences. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're amazing.
Thank you. I had such a great time. Thank you for interviewing me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's just the best bit. I just
Yeah,
get to sit and talk to
it
people.
is.
How is
It's
this
so
not fun?
fun.
So yeah.
It's so fun.